As Indiana celebrates its bicentennial year, Leadership Hendricks County proudly presents Hendricks County, the first 200 years.
Hendricks County began because of a treaty called the St. Mary's Treaty, and it was taking place in 1818. And Hendricks County was formed out of this block of land that came from the treaty with the Indians. Hendricks County being on the second principal meridian, it was the first area that was surveyed. So in 1819 and 1820, this was surveyed, and soon after that we had people populating this county.
Hendricks County was formally established in 1824 with an estimated population of 1,000 people. The county was named after Indiana's third governor, William Hendricks. At its inception, Hendricks County was divided into 16 congressional townships and 9 civil townships. The 16th section of each congressional district would be used for the purpose of supporting a school so that no student would be more than 2 miles from the schoolhouse. Today, there are 12 civil townships, which are the primary basis for the local system of government. The first 50-year period of Hendricks County started with farms, wilderness, and settlers on their way west. At this time in history, log cabins and individual farms dotted the landscape as settlers carved their homesteads out of the wilderness and woods. Farmers, residents, and businesses used horses and wagons as their main method of transportation. 3 main roads connected the county. State Road 136 was the Indianapolis-Crawfordsville Road. State Road 36, also known now as Rockville Road, stopped in Greencastle. US 40 became a famous national road after first being established in 1827. While the routes varied, these arteries that connected the county were the precursors to present-day roads where major towns and commerce later developed. The first railroad, started in 1850, was called the Vandalia Railroad. This important rail system connected Cartersburg, Coatesville, Clayton, Pecksburg, Cincinnatus, and Amo, which was then called Morristown. Another famous railroad was also reported to have passed through Hendricks County. This Underground Railroad had stations that housed and helped slaves who came by way of Bloomington and Bloomingdale, passing through Plainfield and Mooresville. The first courthouse in Danville was a log structure and was converted to a brick structure in 1830. Many of the original landowners and settlers started arriving in the county before its official formation. The first land deed would belong to Samuel Woodward and his wife Abigail. The original county records show land holdings with family names that are familiar to residents who still live here today.
The second era really was, I think, noted right after the Civil War. Dramatic changes took place in roads where they were improved dramatically. Likewise, schools changed, and we passed during this period of time from going to just common schools or one-room schoolhouses to graded schools, and then high schools were added. And I think that the whole building of any type of architecture in this county took on dramatic changes during this period of time also.
1866 brought the county a new courthouse, and log cabin homes began to take shape as framed houses. Several log cabin homes were simply framed to hide the original log structure. Agriculture and commerce grew throughout the county, and by 1890, the census reached 21,498 residents. Around 1866, the first freestanding jail, built to house 6 prisoners, was finished and remained in service until 1974. This building served as both the jail and residence to the county sheriff. As common for the period, the sheriff and his family lived in the same building, housing the inmates, and were responsible for providing food and housekeeping services. The Civil War impacted the economy and the population. Over 2,000 recruits, officers, and enlisted men from Hendricks County served in the Civil War, including 7 recruits from the 8th United States Colored Infantry. Adrian A. Parsons, who is a great-grandfather to the county historian John Parsons, returned home from the war having been injured during this, the largest conflict in the nation's history. When schools were first established, kids of all ages were taught together in one-room schools. The school year and attendance were shaped by the work and farming that had to be done. By 1890, the first high schools were established and grades were implemented for students of different ages or levels of achievement. In 1878, the county became home to Central Normal College in Danville, Indiana, which educated large populations of teachers for schools across the country before closing in 1951. As industry took shape following the Civil War, Hendricks County introduced the soybean era. As early as the 1870s, the county was credited with its foundation in agriculture. Wheat was now the main crop. Timber was removed, and the wooded landscape that formed much of the county at its outset began to disappear. Factories and mechanization became part of agriculture and industry, leading to greater production and amounts of goods and services, which traveled more and more by railroads. Railroads had been used for passenger travel early on, but passengers and goods began to travel by rail at the same time. In 1904, the interurban rail system started operations connecting Indianapolis, Hendricks County, and Terre Haute. Automobiles appeared on dirt roads in 1916. In fact, the Olson Company out of Pittsburgh made school hacks, or school buses, for a short period. Roads that had been dirt were reformed with gravel and wood. In 1915, a new courthouse would again be rededicated and continues to be used in the current day. It is made of stone to replace a previous building that suffered from a roof collapse. Hendricks County had several well-known residents at the time. One of the county's more significant citizens, Honorable Judge V. Hadley, was not only a judge, but was also a decorated Civil War veteran. Samuel Luther Big Sam Thompson from Danville was an American professional baseball player for the Detroit Wolverines, Philadelphia Phillies, and Detroit Tigers. He was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1974.
It appears that the bigger changes was transportation changed. We went from a horse era to mechanized equipment. Likewise, agriculture, all facets of our nation was in the process of changing during this industrial revolution, and Hendricks County was a part of that. And also during this period of time, I think it's important to note that an enormous amount of people that lived in Hendricks County left the farm and went to jobs in Marion County, and we kind of became a bedroom community to them. So, the transportation change and the mechanization changed. It really, really impacted Hendricks County.
In 1916, agriculture was still the dominant industry of the county. Farms used steam-powered thrashers until about 1940, when the more sophisticated methods of farming emerged. Vehicles and trains were the main methods of transportation. The first organized transportation was in Danville, with city buses transporting residents to and from other towns. This period was also impacted by two major wars and a severe economic depression, all of which shaped and impacted the county. The census numbers during this period dipped multiple times before rising again in 1950. It was 1948 when one of the most significant natural disasters claimed lives in the county as a tornado destroyed the town of Coatesville. 19 people were killed. The town took several years to rebuild. One of the county's largest employers was organized in 1931 as PSI Energy. Located in Plainfield, the company quickly became Indiana's largest utility. As trolleys and trains gave way to the automobile, the firm gradually shifted the focus of its business to energy, and since 1941, PSI has been primarily engaged in providing energy to the people and industries of Indiana. It was in this period of history that Plainfield High School had one of its most famous graduates, Delmer William, or Del Harris, went on to become famous for playing and coaching in the NBA for various teams. In 1919, another Plainfield resident was born into stardom. Fortis Meredith Tucker was an American movie and television actor who appeared in nearly 100 films.
We have actually changed from a rural community to today we'd call it a more urban relationship. And in this process of changing, why we've kind of become a bedroom community to Marion County and many of the jobs. And also, as far as employment is concerned, Hendricks Regional is now our largest employer, and at one time that was Public Service in Plainfield. That was a dramatic change. And I think it's things of this nature, things of this venue that I see as dramatically changing for this fourth period.
The final and current period of Hendricks County history arrived with the creation of the Hendricks County Historical Society, organized on July 13, 1967, at the Indiana Boys School Chapel in Plainfield. In 1970, the population was more than double from the 1950 census at 53,974. This population doubled again by the year 2000, with 104,093 residents, and in 2010, the county was home to more than 145,000 people. This surge in population is a result of several factors. The county is situated next to Indianapolis and close to major transportation hubs. By 1966, roads and highways were paved and transportation was available to every household with easy access to all the towns in Hendricks County and surrounding regions. This made Hendricks County the perfect location for industry where goods and services could be easily moved across the country. By 1962, another major employer entered the county as Hendricks Regional Hospital opened with 70 beds and 82 physicians. Since then, the hospital has undergone multiple expansions, including adding a surgery center and Indiana's first fully integrated YMCA hospital collaboration. PSI Energy also expanded in the late 1960s, producing more energy than any other public service facility. Serving more than 600,000 homes by 1991, PSI eventually merged with Synergy Corporation, becoming Duke Energy in 2006. Hendricks County today still has a familiar rural setting in many parts of the county. However, today 99.1% of the county's employment comes from non-farm jobs. The county now has over 22,578 private business owners employing more than 85,300 workers. The most populated town is Plainfield with over 30,590 residents, while Jamestown is the least populated with only 25 residents. The county is on the move and ready to continue to grow into the future, with over 999 residential building permits having been issued in 2015. As of 2014, the median household income was over $70,300, which is one of the highest in the state of Indiana. The county that was once a wilderness is today home to over a dozen different industries. Healthcare, retail trade, transportation, warehousing, and food service are all among the larger of these employers. The Hendricks County schools are among the best in the state. Over 93.6% of adults have high school diplomas or higher, and over 32% have a bachelor's degree or higher. The population continues to grow, leaping by almost 9% between 2010 and 2015 to 158,192 people. As we look to the future, Hendricks County is poised for great things. Now it is time for the next generation of leaders to see through the work begun 200 years ago.